Today's title is The God of Our Understanding. And what does that mean? Really, what is the God of our understanding? And one place that's really prevalent, that saying, are the 12-step programs, right? The 12-step programs really speak about finding that God of your understanding. The 12-step program, this is a quote, I forget which manual I took it from, but it's from one of the 12-step program books. It says, "We admitted we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. Come to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God." Now, one of the very first people, to start these 12-step programs was Bill Wilson and Robert Smith, and they're the ones that started the Alcoholics Anonymous. And they, Akron, Ohio, claims that as the starting point. But in a biography on Bill Wilson, he talks about how he was really depressed. There's a whole bunch in his life before that. I'm just going to talk about the switch point here. But he got to a point in his life where he was really depressed. A doctor told him that he would be dead soon if he didn't get his alcoholic addiction under control. And he was having a lot of trouble with that. He'd actually taken himself to different hospitals and settings to try to help with that. So it wasn't that he wasn't aware, it was really hard. And he ran into, in one of these places, the gentleman named Ebby Thatcher, who was an old drinking buddy of his, and who had reached sobriety. He was doing well. And he told Bill Wilson that, and this is a quote from that biography, "You admit you are licked. You get honest with yourself. You pray to whatever God you think is there, even as an experiment." And again, there's no push to you have to look at it this way or that way. And Bill Wilson said he'd try anything. So of course he's going to try this. And his prayer, his talk to God was, if you're out there, show yourself. That's what it was. If you're out there, show yourself. That was the prayer. And this is a quote from the biography. "Suddenly," he related, "the room lit up with a great white light. I was caught up into an ecstasy which there are no words to describe. It seemed that a wind, not of air, but of spirit, was blowing. And then it burst upon me that I was a free man." He took this experience to the psychologist he was seeing at the time to try to help him, right? His name was Dr. Silkworth. And he said, "Am I crazy? What's going on here? You have to tell me if I'm crazy." And his doctor, I love this because sometimes we always, we think that doctors aren't in our court, but this doctor, the psychologist, said, "You're not crazy. You had an experience. Something really, really happened to you. And if that experience allows you to be better, then take it. Don't deny your experience. If it allows you to move forward in a better fashion, to recognize our experience of life, right? And to not deny that." Michael Singer, he's the one that wrote The Untethered Soul. I don't know if you're, get the book. I'm not going to recite the whole book, but that's Michael Singer. He's written other ones, but I think that was his first one, Untethered Soul. And he talks about we can't do to find that witness. He refers to God, divine spirit, as the witness throughout his writings. And he says we cannot find the witness by doing, which goes back to what Bill Wilson discovered. We can't do it. He's doing all this stuff, right, to try to find that in himself. And it was just when he sat down and said, I need to be shown, and did nothing, right, and went into observation mode and had an experience. When we realize surrender, That's Michael Singer says, when we realize surrender of something larger or greater or than ourselves, that's when the magic happens. And really that realization is life, right? It's recognizing our actual life as that experience moment. We allow life to unfold. We're willing to be a full participant in life. We're not arguing with life and saying that it's mean to us, or that it's, or that we got it going on because, we're swimming in an ocean of loveliness right now. It's like recognizing that all of life is God, is spirit, is Christ, is divine. All of that is life. So God equal life, witness equal life, Christ equal life, you equal life. Because you're the one that's aware of it and recognizing it, right? If you're recognizing it, then you are what it is. The observation itself, the observation itself is that moment. Bill Wilson observed all of this happening around him, and he was able to surrender to the moment. We observe everything around us all the time. Are we willing to surrender to the moment, any moment? Are we willing to observe it for what it is? And I want to read you this little story here. This is from the book Self-Empowerment. I'm sorry? Yeah, yes, exactly. Can we be in the moment? Any moment, like what you shared. This is a little story from the Self-Empowerment book. A woman identified strongly with her Native American heritage. She often stopped to rescue turtles on the highway. One day she ran over a turtle. Crying, she recounted the story to her mother and young daughter. And she asked, what am I supposed to learn from this? Why does this happen? Instead of some mystical variation on stuff happens or the Lord works in mysterious ways, her daughter said, Mom, you're supposed to learn to watch the road. The child's simple statement helped her mother. Learning to watch the road as part of this, our observation of life. Only when we observe, when we are willing to be in the moment, right? It's not a big lesson. It's an experience. We always want, who are we? Why are we here? What's going on? And yet it's being, right? It's the experience itself, the moment itself. Who we were yesterday isn't around anymore. That's not who we are anymore. We are who we are right now and what's happening now. In the next few weeks on Sunday evenings, and for those of you in the building, I'll get you a way to listen to that from home if you want. But there's going to be a 12-week program here about unfolding and harmonizing. So recognizing and being with, educating our spirit and cultivating our intentions and recognizing our intuition as the way that we access all of life. Harmonizing our temper and our talents. Recognizing that play is a necessity of life, not being so serious all the time. If we close our eyes, when we close our eyes, what goes through our mind? Who are you in that moment? Why are you here? And then how do you know? How do you know? It's the how do you know that's important. It's that recognition of knowing that we are here, and that knowing is your God essence. What is recognizing all your thoughts, all your emotions? It's life, right? And again, life is the witness. Life equal witness equal God equal you, the real you. You know, my favorite line, you are the universe made manifest, trying to figure itself out. You know, how do you recognize that? That your story isn't the answer. It's recognition of the story that is the answer. You know, it's not everything you've gone through and felt and whatever. It's creation being with that moment and noticing it and being with it. Just like yesterday with all the music or any music, if you take yourself to a concert, you're in the moment with that, right? You can't like think your way into a concert. You have to be with it, right? Especially live music. You know, you're feeling it. You're not thinking about it. You're just there. And if, you know, people were really, they were just there. And some of them were in and out of consciousness with it, quite literally, because you could just be that much totally with the waves of the music. And if we're all thinking about it, we're not there with it. And I think music is a good example of that. Jesus says the kingdom of God is in you. The mind of God is you. The will of creation is within your very essence and your very life. It is you. It's not just in you, it is you. That's the part that recognizes everything. And today is Father's Day, right? We honor the masculine aspect of our natures. We honor those that exemplify that aspect of divine for us, and also what's in us, that masculine nature in us. And as much as the feminine is the feeling and the loveliness, all that stuff we talked about last month, the masculine is the tangible, the doing, the actions. It's the everyday response to the necessities that we need in order for the witness to even witness, right? I mean, sometimes I think the masculine part is what keeps us moving on the planet. It's the physical aspect. You know, it's the shelter and the food and protection and objectivity and discipline and analysis. Those are all qualities of the divine masculine. And we need those qualities to experience this life, to even witness it, to let the universe figure itself out, right? So as much as we need, the feminine that we talked about on Mother's Day, we need both. We need the essence of both, and creation is both. It's nature. Nature is both. And I want to read James Freeman Clark about nature. He says, nature feeds the soul inwardly with content. It satisfies us with itself. Go into the fields and woods, row a boat on the ocean or river or lake, spend a day in climbing a mountain, pass a week in the wilderness, and all cares seem to drift out of our minds and hearts. What has become of all those anxieties about life, our success or our failure? What has become of our ambitions, our desire for social triumphs, our rivalries, or small vanities? They have all been washed away by this bath of mountain air. That tall pine tree with its voice of silvery music speaking to us out of a period before the flood has claimed our heart. We envy no one. We are jealous of no one. Or when by night we watch the stars and study the vast constellations, then we see through a telescope the double stars, purple and gold, shining like emeralds and rubies in the immense depths of the sky. When we see the nebula composed of million solar systems, but seeming like a soft cloud in the profound abyss of our space, our anxieties, our hearts, our foolish fears, our fond desires pass away from us. What moral training can do, this communion with God in the universe of nature accomplishes, of recognizing our own nature. True observation is informed by love, which allows us to see everyone as each individual really is. The mask drops off, and through love, we develop compassion for all those around us. Many of us go through the streets and see hundreds of faces and never notice them. Yet Spirit has made each human face with its own separate expression, its own story. In each one is written a prophecy of possibilities, a history of successes and failures. Aren't these worth noticing? And in the noticing, we recognize life. Remember, life equals divine equals you. We recognize in those moments the God of our understanding, how we recognize each other, how we recognize nature, how we recognize those faces. That's the God of our understanding. And our understanding gets to shift, right? Every day. And that is life. Thank you.